Hello, Seiiti Arata. Have you noticed how lack of focus or the wrong focus can destroy your networking opportunities? For example, that situation when you are in an important event and because you're a little bit nervous, your mind is all over the place, you don't have focus, you end up doing everything wrong. You forget to listen and maybe you miss the right timing to participate in some situation, some interaction. Then you go like, oh no, I really lost a big chance. So what I want you to understand is that networking is not about the number of interactions, it's about the quality of the interaction. When you don't have focus, or even worse, when your focus is on the wrong thing, the wrong objective, you end up making basic mistakes that undermine your chances of creating real connections. So today I want to show you exactly how this happens. First of all, there's that type of person who arrives, decided to kind of sell themselves. This is pretty common. You've probably seen that, right? Person barely arrives, they already start to do their pitch, their monologue about the training they did, or the product, the quality of the product they have, or all their achievements. It's super boring, and it does not work. Everybody who's there in that circle, they feel used. This is not good. There's also the business card collector, also people who, maybe because of anxiety as well, they go very quickly distributing their card, collecting everybody's cards, but you don't actually talk to them. And at the end, they go back home with a lot of papers that are basically useless, because it's almost like a cold approach when they even try to get in touch with people. So what I want you to see here, there's a huge difference between collecting contacts of people and say, oh yeah, I know the person, but really making real connections. When you only collect contacts, you're wasting valuable opportunities to create genuine connections. There's another thing that I often see is the behavior of this unconditional fan. Now, especially when they're VIPs, they go into this fan mode. They ask to take a selfie, or they start giving a lot of random compliments. Oh, it's okay to admire people. I do that as well. But if you want to build a genuine professional connection, you have to aspire to create to be on the same level on the conversation. And people often do the exact opposite. They just stand quietly in this group of people. They say nothing. This is almost like invisible. They don't contribute. They don't interact. They just stand there. That does not work either. Remember that effective networking is not about quantity. It's about quality. I'm going to repeat that a lot. There's no point meeting like 50 people in an event and you don't build one single real connection. There's another huge mistake I want to share, which is not following up after the event. How many times you exchange business cards and say, oh yeah, it's really great, we have so much synergy, let's grab a coffee, but you don't even send an email to that person later. So follow up is crucial. I'm also gonna share with you a super awkward situation that sometimes happens. You are in some event, then you see somebody who's surrounded by people, they look very important, so they're okay, I have to approach that person, right? Then the problem is basically you have no idea who that person is. Gets even worse when you mistake that person. I think I know, I think that is that famous person X, but turns out to be the wrong person. So with this, I want you to understand that all of this is sending a terrible message, like you didn't do your homework. It's like, hey, I want your attention, but I don't even know, I didn't bother to research who you are. So why would somebody who's very busy stop what they're doing to pay attention to you, and you didn't do your part, you didn't even prepare for that conversation? There's another thing that is even worse. When people go there, they have nothing relevant to say. So think about this. When you're interrupting somebody, especially if it's a busy person, a high-level person, well-known person, you're implicitly saying, hey, let me get a bit of your attention because I have something important to say to you. But if you don't have anything important to say, well, that's kind of a problem, right? I want you to realize that people notice when your interest is superficial. This happens so much. Person goes there saying generic stuff like, oh wow, I love your work. And then they're like, oh really? That's good to hear. what exactly do you like? And they're like, oh, I like everything. Or even worse, when you say, honestly, I haven't been looking very closely lately, but in general, I like it very much. So, you know, a very random compliment. Not really a compliment at all. So, okay, with this, what should you understand? Nobody is required, nobody is obliged to talk to you. That's right, that's life. So if you go there unprepared, with no substance, with nothing to contribute, you will lose your chance. You will look unprofessional. Let me share another fatal mistake that happens all the time. When you interrupt people mid-sentence. I know you're probably coming from a place of a good place, you're very excited, you had an idea, you want to share it at that moment when it's relevant in the context, but that's one of the worst things you can do when you're networking. Instead of that, what can you do? If you have an idea, you want to contribute, but somebody's still talking, make a mental note, allow the person to finish their point, and even if the conversation moves to another direction, that's okay. You can just say something like, hey, I just remembered what you were saying a few minutes ago, and that made me think of, then you say whatever it is, and it shows that you're respectful and you're paying attention. That's it. So when you're approaching people, ask these questions. Do I really know who that person is? Do I have something relevant, important to say? Do I know what they do, their work, well enough to have a real conversation? Am I prepared to contribute something that is meaningful? If the answer is no to any of these questions, probably it's better for you to wait a little bit more, do a little bit more research, prepare yourself better, because again, networking is not about the number of connections, it's about you creating quality connections, connections that really matter. Remember that respecting people's time, respecting people's work, this is essential. It's not just about being just polite, it's about being professional. When you're preparing, before you approach people, when you have something relevant to say, when you truly listen instead of interrupting in a rude way, you're not doing real networking. The networking in the right way is when you listen more than when you talk, when you show genuine, real interest in people, when you're not pushing too hard, when you let the conversation flow naturally. And the most important thing, that you stay in touch afterward, right? That's why you went there. So what I want you to keep in mind is that you have to direct your focus in the right way. The main mistakes that you have to avoid, what are they? Only talking about yourself, super boring, collecting business cards with no purpose, just to accumulate cards, acting like this fanboy, unconditional fan, staying silent, having nothing to say, dragging people's attention, pretending to listen but you're not really listening, asking generic questions, not doing the follow-up, or approaching people without knowing who they are. I mean, it's okay that you just introduce yourself, but don't pretend that you know somebody when you actually don't. So to take full control of not only networking and conversations, of everything you do in your life, I really want to help you when you go to the link arata.se/focus course.